now tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Funky Town. You're supposed to chime in there and go, Funky Town.
Funky Town.
That is Lips Inc. on 106.1 KISS FM.
You could have asked me, what's the name of the band that sings the song? And I never would have got to Lip Sync in a million years.
No?
No, because I've never heard it.
Oh, just look at our...
I know the song.
Look at our logo.
Oh, now. I mean, I know the song, but I've never once known who sang that.
It's Old School Fridays, every song this morning from 1980 right here on the show.
Big news. I have some important news for you. Interesting news.
It's Blake and Darren's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Morning, Sandy. How are you? Happy Friday.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday.
How's it going?
So excited.
What are you excited about?
I'm just glad it's Friday.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
What is the, I'm noticing that your little logo up on the corner of your screen there.
Oh, yes. I need to change that. But we had a fantastic show yesterday.
Okay.
In case you guys are missing it, every Tuesday and Thursday for about the next month or so, we're doing a series called the CMR COVID Spotlight, where we are bringing experts on the show and talking about a variety of different COVID-related topics. And last night we had an epidemiologist on from Florida.
That's cool.
The Florida State Health State Department, or I'll get the proper name, but yeah. So we had him on. Very, very educational discussion. I would invite your listeners to check out either YouTube channel or Facebook and listen to what he had to say. It's super, super interesting information.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what'd you make of the press conference yesterday?
To be honest, I was totally checked out, only because I was super busy. So I cannot even make any comment on it because I didn't get to listen. So
Wow.
what do you make of it?
Well, here are a couple things.
Yes.
I mean, there wasn't a lot that was new, although they said the new regulations, they included public gatherings may not exceed 100 persons indoors,
Right.
or 250 people outdoors.
Yeah,
Weddings.
we expected that to come, right?
Yeah. Funerals subject to the same gathering restrictions. Also, masks. If the public place has indoor or outdoor areas, so that's saying the same thing. They're saying social distancing of at least 6 feet must be maintained in all public places unless persons are from the same household. Additional measures, including relating to the use of personal protective equipment, may also be required at quarantine facilities. Parades, carnivals, other processions may not be held unless permitted by regulations. People over the age of 5 years must wear masks when indoors in a public place or an educational institution if the 6 feet social distancing cannot be maintained. The owner or operator of any establishment may also require persons to wear masks and refuse entry to persons who refuse to do so. Masks are also mandated for drivers and all passengers on taxis and buses, and exemptions to the above rule as far as numbers of persons include establishments, institutions, businesses, offices, including churches, cinemas, and theaters, which can accommodate more than 100 people indoors. However, these places must restrict the number of customers or congregants in a church, so all attendees are able to distance themselves at least 6 feet apart from one another, unless they are from the same household. So,
Okay. Because the movie theater has different theaters, so you can't say only 100 people in the whole building.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it sounds like you need to wear a mask indoors, though. If it's a public place,
Right.
you're at the theater, you need to wear a mask unless you're eating.
Drinking coffee.
It says, here we go, unless you're sitting, eating at your desk, not talking. So exemptions to rules requiring masks or cloth coverings include where a person has a medical condition or is sitting or eating without talking at his or her desk at their place of employment, at a desk or a table at the person's educational institution, or a person is a customer who is indoors in a bar or restaurant and is sitting at a table inside of the bar or restaurant. So does that mean that people that work in an office have to wear a mask?
Are they making people in offices? That's what I don't understand that for offices, because I'm drinking coffee right now because we're in an office.
We are,
I'm like,
I mean, we are in the studio.
I mean, we talk like it's kind of hard to do a job with a mask on.
You know what? I mean, some offices, and I know that the unvaccinated are griping about this, but some offices have taken the approach that if you're vaccinated, one of the benefits of being vaccinated is that in their office, you don't have to wear a mask. So, they only.
So does this mandate the wearing of masks in offices? I'm a little unclear about that one.
I'm gonna have to look at that, to be honest, but I don't know that. If it's not a public space, which I'm not so sure that the government can. I'll have to review that, to be honest, because I'm not really sure. I'm gonna have a look and see.
Okay.
I mean,
the general gist of it is in public spaces, they are mandating mask wearing.
And then these rules and regs go all the way through November 22nd, unless they amend those before then.
Or they extend them.
Or they extend them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did hear yesterday that Air Canada is going to resume flights in November. So
is that subject to anything, or they're going to resume regardless?
I do not know the answer to that. It was something that was said by the premier yesterday, and so I made a note of it.
Okay.
Well, I know BA is doing 3 flights a week, So those are not repatriation flights. They're normal flights. And so Air Canada is resuming normal flights. So I'm guessing, I don't know if travel time is, you still have to apply with travel time, I'm guessing.
I'm guessing so,
Why?
yes. They're still very much in, travel time is still.
Yeah, because quarantine is still in effect. So,
yeah.
Okay, well.
Sandy, you got anything else on this Friday?
Unfortunately, we got a little bit of bad news.
Okay.
We had a young lady pass away yesterday in the community. So a lot of people are reeling this morning about that. Shortly after childbirth, like the same day, basically. Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about that this morning.
Just complications during childbirth?
It looks like after, like, not exactly during, but very sad. It's tough. So a lot of people are, quite upset about that this morning. And it's just shocking, to be honest, but that's on the minds of a lot of people in the community. We might do a little bit of court update this morning as well. Some cases that we've kind of been monitoring, people have been asking about. And then we're going to...
What you doing at the courthouse with Sandy?
I have a story from yesterday.
What?
So here's a good question.
Yes.
So I went to the bank yesterday. I went to Butterfield downtown because I had to pick up a company credit card.
Downtown, like...
Yeah, by the courthouse.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah. And so I roll up and there's the armed fire uniformed police officers. And there's two of them out there holding machine guns, and they're like in body armor and
They
stuff.
were probably taking money out.
Yeah.
So
the armory car.
So I was so I asked when I was inside, and I said, "What's the deal with the armed machine guns out front?" And they're like, "That's when they clear out the vault."
Yeah, you've never known that.
So when I got in my car, then I see them speed by. There's a cop followed by an armored car followed by another cop.
Yeah.
Where are they going?
It's like standard procedure.
Well, where do they take the money? I mean, not that we should necessarily know this, Blake. But
so where are they? If the money's not in the bank, where's it going?
Not into my basement.
I mean,
part of me wanted to like.
When they say clear out the vault, what does that even mean?
Well, I guess they had too much money in there, and they take it somewhere. So I'd like to know where they take it. Do they take it to the airport, or? If the money's not in a bank
I thought
vault,
they would be taking it to
where
ATMs.
Is it? No, that was a very large sum of money. Obviously,
normally, I mean, we don't have the Monetary Authority, I don't think keeps like that sort of money there, but that is weird.
So
I always thought that because you see them doing this a lot, especially with Butterfield. I've never actually seen them with CNB that I can think of, not the armed unit. But I always thought it was because they were moving money from like one branch to another.
I mean, maybe part of me wanted to like follow them, but I thought that would be a bad idea.
Why would you have to physically move money anymore?
I don't know.
Like it's just in this day and time of like technology and whatever, it just seems really weird that you even have to physically transport money. But who knows? I've never worked in banking, so I don't really know.
I mean, if you're like a fan of the movie Heat and you're looking for the one armored car to pick off, that's probably the one. I'm guessing that's where all the money is.
Could you stop planning your bank heist on air, Blake?
Oh my God!
Like easy to build a case with this one. Who did it well, Blake? Rogers, obviously.
Nobody
talks about it on air all the time.
Nobody's recording the audio.
No,
it only lasts for 30 days.
No one at all is paying attention at all. Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Sandy, it's Old School Fridays. The year is 1980. What's your song today?
All right. Hold on. My husband had to do this one for me today.
Really?
Yeah.
He's not a music
person. All right. So he said, how about Fame?
Fame. Is that 1980?
Well, you said the movie came out in 1980.
That is true. Irene Cara, right?
Yeah.
That is
I didn't even know that. So that's amazing.
Okay.
That's a good song.
Yeah, this is a classic.
All right, we'll leave you with this.
Thank you.
Enjoy your Friday and the weekends. And catch CMR Now live on Facebook and YouTube. We'll see you Monday.
Bye. Okay, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Let me do that. Good morning. Buenos dias. I'm gonna play a quick video because I do need to grab something out of the kitchen. This morning I was actually trying to get some tea ready this morning. Of course, the water got ready, and then that was the end of that. It never happened past the water. So let's just have a quick look at why other people are getting vaccinated. So up next, we have Mr. Johan Maxim, aka El Fuego. So we are here today with none other than Johan Maxim. Hello, Johan.
Hello.
So who you got vaccinated from?
After much thought and after taking the medical advice from my doctor, I had a bunch of questions and he answered them to the best of his abilities. I felt comfortable enough to proceed. But the primary reason why I got the vaccine was for my family. The boys, Pilar, she had gone and gotten her vaccine. I thought it was I think it's the responsible thing to do, subject to getting professional medical advice. And then the secondary reason would be I have a mom who's in California. My mom's 71 years old, and I need to be able to get to her as soon as possible if, God forbid, anything bad should happen, and I didn't want to have any sort of restrictions that prevented me from being able to travel. So those are the primary reasons. And again, once I took the advice from my doctor, I felt really comfortable, given his years of experience, his knowledge, that it was something that I could proceed with. All medications come with some sort of risk, but I chose to listen to professionals as opposed to the average person who doesn't understand virology or isn't a medical professional.
All right, now, if you won the $100,000 in the vaccine drive, what would you do with it?
Man, $100,000 to somebody like me is a lot of money. Probably pay bills, to be honest with you. Put some money up for the boys and their education, and maybe a trip abroad somewhere.
All right, now what advice would you give people who might be listening to you now who are not yet vaccinated?
I think everyone will have their reasons why they do it. Some believe that it's something that must be done if you're being a responsible citizen. There's some people that, for medical reasons, cannot. And there's some people that just don't believe and they think that there's a conspiracy. Speak to a qualified medical professional. Get the best advice from a medical professional. Things on the internet can be misleading, but if you have a long-standing relationship with your doctor, take their advice. They know what they're talking about, and trust them on this in the way that you would trust them for the common cold or any other sort of ailment that you have. But speaking to the relevant medical professional would be the thing that I would suggest everybody does, whether it be at the HSA or your private doctor. Get the professional advice and make your decision from there. But understand that you're doing it to safeguard your family, especially young ones that aren't able to get vaccinated, and go from there.
All right, thanks very much. We appreciate it.
Take care.
All right, thank you so much, Senor Johan, who was giving us his reasons for, or his persons, I should say, for getting vaccinated. That was a series that we've been doing called Who You Got Vaccinated For? Kind of like when people ask you who your mom is. Now you can you can say exactly who you got vaccinated for. I think we all did it for different people. In my case, I obviously did it for my daughter and myself, but mostly her, to make sure that the chances of me getting it are far less. Folks, if you missed last evening's show, you missed a real treat. I would suggest that you go back to it and have a look at what the epidemiologist had to say. Very, very informative segment. And I was, really, really pleased to have him on the program. Big shout out to Kevin Watler. Kevin is in Lakeland, Florida, Caymanian living abroad. And Kevin has been really instrumental in putting this the CMR COVID-19 Spotlight series together, booking all of the guests and coming up with relevant topics. So last evening's segment was an epidemiologist. Now listen, if you've never spoken to an epidemiologist before, you missed an opportunity last night to ask your questions directly. But nonetheless, I would suggest you go back and have a view of it. It's on YouTube, it's on Facebook. And the gentleman just really provided tons of helpful information. And the message remains the same from all professionals. Florida was getting hit hard. They seem to kind of be coming out of this latest high of, infections and hospitalizations. But everyone has the exact same message. So I hear some people complaining, like, why does the premier keep telling people to get vaccinated? Because that is the only thing that we have, folks. That is the only, protection that we have, really. I mean, we've got masks and social distancing and all those other things, but nothing gives you, other than catching COVID, obviously, which, again, he made a very interesting point last night about even that may not be as much protection as you think. It depends on how sick you are. And obviously, the sicker you are and the more of a response you get from it means that the less likely you are to probably not have serious complications from the COVID illness as well, or the coronavirus. So, folks, take heed, because if every single professional is telling you the exact same thing, why you'd be sitting on social media just listening to random friends who are not experts really makes me wonder. Personally, doesn't make any sense to me at all. Good morning to Irvlyn. Good morning, Daisy. Good morning, Larry. Miss Iva's here. Happy Friday. Alice, Blissful Powell. I think we haven't seen you in a few days. Louis, thank you for joining in. Miss Sue, how are you? No connection in WhatsApp. What's going on WhatsApp? I don't know. Did I not? Let me double check my phone. I definitely sent messages this morning. Strange. We did send out the usual notification on WhatsApp that the show is live. I'm not aware of any issues. Was it? Looks like some people, I see where some people have read it. It has a double blue mark. And then for others, they haven't. So I don't know. Hopefully WhatsApp isn't having any issues, because sometimes that happens. WhatsApp goes on the brinks and we don't even know it until people are like, I can't get any messages. But yeah, I did send it out, Miss Sue. So I'll keep an eye on the WhatsApp situation today. Thank you for alerting me that there could potentially be an issue. Speaking of that, I'll post it on the website as well, because people like to get reminders to tune in to the show. So thank you, Miss Sue. Wee Wee is here. Good morning, Wee Wee. Fabulous Friday morning. Thank you, Diamond Princess. Good morning, Miss Morna. I'm so happy to say, Diamond Princess, I know you had reached out to me. Please message me again on WhatsApp, but I'm happy to say that we were able to deliver another family of 5 some, family of 5 some groceries yesterday, and they were ever so thankful. So I want to really thank the persons, Miss KK and another donor, who really, really made it possible for us to be able to deliver on that. So I'm just having a quick look at something here. Mm-hmm. Yes. So we're going to talk about here in a second a really tragic situation. It's always unfortunate when someone in our community passes away. Most Caymanians, we're just super connected. It's like I always say it in Cayman, it's 3 degrees of separation, really. And in this case, a lot of people knew this young lady who passed away, and it's just really a sad situation. So I'm going to tell you what I know, and what information I suppose I can share. I think some of it is already sort of out there in the public. I won't share anything that I think is super private. Of course, the rumor mill is already trying to blame COVID and all sorts of other things. I think people really need to don't speak on what they don't know. So I'm always a bit perplexed when something happens and someone passes away or whatever, and then all of a sudden you've got individuals who want to make up their own story to try to fit their narrative, right? So it's like, oh, well, she was vaccinated, so it has to be the vaccine. I'm like, come on, people. Stop being ridiculous. Honestly. It's very, very sad what has happened. So we know that a young lady, has passed away. What we know is yesterday morning, she had a baby that was over 9 pounds. And I believe that this is her 5th child. So she has other children. I understand that a lot of the babies were on the large side. Now, I was saying this to someone this morning that, believe it or not, Emma and Tracy, Lizette, Felicia, thank you so much. Believe it or not, giving birth is still childbirth and pregnancy is still a very high risk situation. And I'm surprised at people who say to me that, well, they don't know about it being high risk. I'm like, especially women who have had children. Has your physician never told you how risky it is? And obviously there are factors that make it more risky for other people. I mean, you have everything from people getting gestational diabetes, women, and you have to control that. Sometimes that will make you have a larger baby and stuff as well. You've got women who have high blood pressure issues, right? So thankfully, I didn't have gestational diabetes, but I think a lot of you know that my daughter was born a preemie because at 8 months, the doctor decided it was best to just take her because the risk was a risk for me, but more importantly, throughout my entire pregnancy, she was just growing really, really small. So I was thankful in the sense that I didn't have any traditional, some women have very difficult pregnancies. I mean, difficult. They get not just gestational diabetes, hypertension, they get preeclampsia. I mean, all sorts of things can happen to you during a pregnancy and after. And in fact, I will not forget my OBGYN saying to me that a woman's most risky time of dying, any time in her life, other than obviously when you're like 90 years old and, whatever, something like that. The riskiest time, speaking of which, you're not going to believe this, but Renee, who works for me out of Miami, just messaged me, just popped up on my screen, saying that she's actually going to the hospital. She's pregnant. She is 30-something weeks. Let me see. How far along are you now? She just messaged at 7:53 to say, hey, Sandy, my doctor sent me to the hospital for checks. Hopefully nothing serious, so I will be back home soon. I'm telling you, it's just so ironic. She is pregnant and having a baby that she just sent me that message. But honestly, it is the riskiest time. And this is what my doctor told me during pregnancy, during childbirth, and the 6 weeks after are the most riskiest time of a woman's life. Because, she's 38 weeks heading into 34 weeks. Yeah. Because it just comes with the territory. And so people say, well, oh my gosh, remember our grandparents used to have 13 children and 8 children. And well, a lot of them died as well. Let's be very, very honest. Dying in childbirth back then was like, okay, it just happened. And we've heard of stories of people who, the baby might have survived or both of them died or, all sorts of stuff. It happens, folks. And it is unfortunate that in this day and age, people think that this isn't a risk. I will never forget when I was, like I said, they took my daughter at 8 months because the doctor said, listen, throughout I was going to Miami. As a matter of fact, the first time I went to Miami for my appointment, the physician in Miami said to me, if you were my patient, this was like at 3 months, if you were my patient, I would put you on not just bed rest at home, I would put you in the hospital for the duration of this pregnancy. I was like, what? In the hospital? And he said, yes, if you were my patient, that's the precautions that I would take here, because given your age and what I see going on here with, you see, no word of lie. She just said to me that she's due in November, but she's having a few issues. She has gestational diabetes, hypertension, and anemia. And I'm going to say to her, so ironic that we are talking about that very topic this morning. It's just so weird. So I want to highlight this because it is obvious that this remains an issue for women. And I know in the United States that far too many women actually die. And they say sometimes unnecessarily because of the healthcare system there. And I imagine COVID is probably making it worse for people, for pregnant women in particular, but you are just more at risk. So listen to me. I sympathize with this family. I think this young lady was having a high-risk pregnancy. My understanding is she was ordered on bed rest, but even in my case, the doctor said I'd put you in the hospital. I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. And there's so many things that can just go wrong. The placenta isn't working the way that it should. I mean, you have women who have lost their babies because the placenta just detaches and that's it. And the doctors don't know why, they can't explain it. I think childbirth is amazing. It's amazing that as human beings, we can reproduce and bring, children into this world. But I also think that it's not something to be underestimated in terms of what happens. So maternal deaths and disabilities are a leading contributor in women's disease. Listen to this. Burden with an estimated 303,000 women killed each year in childbirth and pregnancy worldwide. The global rate in 2017 is 211 maternal deaths per 100,000 live births. So 45% of postpartum deaths occur within 24 hours. So, this isn't a thing of the past. And I don't want people to believe that the risk of childbirth has disappeared, or this only happens in third world countries. It is a real risk that happens to women. And I think that when you are, a family member, whether you're the husband, the boyfriend, family of someone who is pregnant, you have to understand, the risk that they are undertaking. And this is a very, very serious thing. It's just horrific. The maternal mortality rate in particular in the US is way higher than it should be. And I remember reading something about this, and I actually sent it to my girlfriend because, again, everybody thinks that, the US is such an amazingly developed country, but in fact, it might be. I'm not saying that they are not, but women dying during pregnancy and during childbirth still remains one of the greatest risky periods in their entire life. So it says in 2018, a total of 658 women in the United States died while pregnant or within 42 days of the end of their pregnancy. This is some new information from the CDC. And maternal deaths are defined as a woman dies while pregnant or within 42 days of being pregnant. And the cause of death related to or aggravated by the pregnancy or the management of the pregnancy. So this is still a very, very real thing. So in the US, the ratio is 17.4 maternal deaths per 100,000 live births. And one of the most interesting things about this, and this is something that I've known, is when the numbers broken down by race and age, there's a significant disparity. So the maternal rate for Black women in particular is 37.1 per 100,000 live births. So that is a rate of up to 3 times the rate for non-Hispanic, white, and Hispanic women. So you are 3 times more likely to die as a woman of color during childbirth or shortly thereafter than other people. So, I mean, that's shocking. And of course, the rate for women who are 40 and older is 81.9 per 100,000 live deaths. So it's 8 times the number for women as compared to women under 25, for example. So obviously age is a critical factor. And, you know, for me, that was definitely one of the considerations. You know, I even had discussions with my doctor. He said, listen, if you'd like another baby, we can do it with technology. But, you know, having you try to carry a child to full term isn't something that we would recommend. But we could do it in a petri dish, basically, where the embryo would stay until 3 months. And so you'd only have to carry it for 6 months. But it's not just about carrying a baby, right? So as you can see, you might be able to successfully carry a baby and perhaps even deliver. But afterwards, the stress and the strain that it puts on your body, my blood pressure went up after pregnancy. She was in the NICU for an entire month. Thankfully, she was fine in the end. You know, all indications was she was just really, really preemie. And for whatever reason, my body, the placenta and everything wasn't doing, I guess, as much of a great job as it should have been. So we were very fortunate that we didn't lose the baby, that she didn't have any disabilities or any issues, and that I'm still here to tell you this story and to remind you of how incredibly dangerous getting pregnant and childbirth is. And, you know, I know of younger women who have struggled with childbirth related blood pressure issues where they could even get it under control. Like it took a minute to get it under control. And if you know what happens, folks, I was telling you guys this a couple of days ago, you know, blood pressure, high blood pressure is a silent killer because a lot of times you don't even know that you have it. And it can really kill you. So it's really unfortunate. There's a lot of people this morning who are mourning the death of this young lady. Her name is Melissa Smith. She, I think a lot of people might remember her from Cayman Airways. She worked for Cayman Airways for a number of years. She was no longer at Cayman Airways, but she did work there for a while. So what we understand to have happened is she had the baby by C-section early in the morning. And then something happened after 6 o'clock or so, a bit later on in the day. This is her beautiful young lady. And now she leaves behind 5 children, unfortunately. So we wish to extend our condolences to her family. You know, we can only support you as a community. And it's just a very, 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 very sad situation. You know, I've seen pictures of her, which I don't really want to share those, of her and the baby. She would have been, you know, celebrating what should have been an amazing moment in her life with her 5th child. The child was quite large, over 9 pounds, like I said, but it's just unbelievable. So again, to her family, to her friends, we extend, you know, our condolences to you, and we're very, very sorry for your loss. Yeah. It's a serious thing, folks. It really, really is. You know, And people are quick to try to blame other people. We don't know what happened here. My sources indicate that she actually had 2 heart attacks, and they think it might have been in part brought on by some sort of an aneurysm or an embolism or something like that. But listen, these things happen. Any surgery is high risk. Any surgery. You're more, you're coming out of a situation where you're more likely to have blood clots and all that sort of stuff. So yes, surgeries in and of themselves is high risk, and a C-section is surgery. So we'll wait. I know autopsy will definitely be done. Miss Iva says, I lost one in 1991 when he died after 11 hours. When he died after 11 hours after I had him. So again, losing a baby is also one of the tragic things. I'll never forget that whilst I was pregnant, like literally days before I was due to have my child, I heard of a young lady who was very young. I want to say she might have even been in her 20s, who just dropped dead. I mean, like she started bleeding at home or something and just died before they could even get her to the hospital. And she was like 9 months pregnant. Like she was due kind of any day. She was like 8 or 9 months pregnant, because I think that she had just had a baby shower like a couple days before that. And unfortunately, her and the baby died. People don't seem to accept or acknowledge how incredibly difficult childbirth remains. And I feel sorry for women in places around the world where there's no regard for their ability to choose to have children or not, because it's often forced on very young girls, and they're expected to have 8, 9, 10 children, which every single child you have, that's a subsequent risk to the mother. So there's this one, Dr. Janine Clayton, director of the Office of Research in Women's Health at the National Institute of Health in Washington, D.C. She has said that the new data from CDC represents a landmark for this really important topic. So again, women of color are very, very high risk. Both Beyonce, for example, and Serena Williams have brought attention to the risk of childbirth for Black women in particular, because both of them have had issues. In fact, I don't know how many of you guys know about Serena Williams and her struggles, but she has one daughter and she almost died having her child. Again, lots of complications, and you think about it, she's like fit and, amazing shape, but she almost died as well. She's actually shared her story with people publicly. So it was only in 2003, believe it or not, that in the US, they revised death certificates to include a checkbox to indicate whether a deceased woman was pregnant at or around the time of her birth. So really, this data is somewhat relatively new. And so as of 2018, death certificates in all 50 states included some type of checkbox related to pregnancy, because this is an increase in risk that in the US, for example, they want to monitor. Another thing they said is waiting a year between pregnancies does lower your risk, but still, age and other factors remain. So they keep saying that every pregnancy-related death in the U.S. is too many, one too many, but this is the realities, unfortunately, of the situation. So things like anemia doubles the risk of death for pregnant women. For example, heart attack and stroke caused more than 1 in 3 pregnancy-related deaths. So this is normally what it's going to be between 2011 and 2015 in the United States, according to CDC data. Other leading causes of maternal death include infections and hemorrhaging, which is severe bleeding. So definitely heart attack, heart disease, and stroke are the 2 number 1 reasons why. So if you are pregnant, folks, take the advice of your medical professionals. Make sure that you get the care that you need. Go to your appointments. Maternity mortality is a complex issue, but the more you know early on in your pregnancy, if you're having any issues, the more likely you are to try to prevent anything serious from happening. But sometimes there is just nothing that can be done. Women suffer from postpartum depression, deaths from suicide. It's just so many different things that the women have to go through. So I take my hats off to all women out there who've gone through the childbirth process. Ms. Morna, thank you so much. She reminds us that the old folks used to say that when you're having a child, you were 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot out of the grave. It is very, very tragic. Rachel, thank you so much for that. I don't know what the family's position is, if they need any help, but hopefully if they do, they will reach out, because the community, I'm sure, stands ready and able to assist them. But to think that 5 children now have been left without mothers is really, really hard, because I don't think that anybody will be there for them like this young lady would have been. So it's just very, very sad. It's just tough, folks. Yep. So I always feel the most for the children and for their loss. I don't know how old her other children will be or are, but it's a very tough situation. So good morning to Omiria. Very, very sad news indeed. Yes, Michelle, I think that it's unfortunate that a lot of people don't recognize how incredibly high risk pregnancies are. And, I think a lot of women themselves don't even recognize how difficult it is, to be quite honest. You think, you just get pregnant and have a baby, and it's like, oh, this is great. It's very, very challenging. And it certainly leaves irreplaceable void in the lives of those children and the family members of the person who has been lost as well. So thank you, Michelle, for reminding us of that. Julie says, in all things, let's give thanks for sparing our lives to see another Friday. Absolutely. We have to be thankful for everything. Comment here that this is where men should come in place to respect women, knowing that we as women go through so much from mother to baby. And, yeah, absolutely. And I think that most people don't really, not even just men, but even just women in society don't understand, even if they've been pregnant themselves, unless they've had an issue, a lot of us don't really appreciate the risk that is actually involved. Good morning, Mr. Tommy from the Bahamas. Thank you, Wanda. Yeah, it's very sad. Inspiring says, it's only when we truly know and understand that we have a limited time on earth that we have no way of knowing when our time is up. And another comment here that no one can replace a mother. Absolutely. Yeah. Very, very sad. Oh, sorry, inspiring. There's more to that quote. That we'll begin to live each day to the fullest as if it was the last that we had. That's a quote from Elizabeth Ross. Thank you for sharing that. Paula, good morning. Expressing her condolences to the family. Sue says that she hemorrhaged twice after her first baby in the 1960s. It was so scary in those days. And it still remains very much a risk today. So yes. Sharon, good morning. We were just talking about a young lady who died yesterday evening after giving birth in the morning, and just talking about how risky childbirth in general is for women. And, you know, my physician told me the exact same thing at the time. He said, Sandra, the riskiest time of a woman's life is during her pregnancy and 6 weeks after. He says, you're more likely to die then than any other time. And again, it seems like, you know, women of color have a much higher instance of childbirth related death. So yeah. And big shout out to the maternity wards, the neonatal intensive care units, and you know, all of these units that provide care for mothers, pregnant women, and their babies. Yeah. Very sad. All right, folks, let's move on, unfortunately, from that situation. And yeah, it's in many respects unbearable to think how everybody's life has changed in her family because of this loss. I don't know. And I'm now thinking of Renee, hoping that she's okay, because obviously she's had her doctor has now sent her to the hospital. Gestational diabetes, hypertension, and anemia. That's a trifecta of things that isn't good at all. Someone shared on WhatsApp, this is when you're pregnant having a baby, the old people said the same thing. You had one foot in the grave and one foot out. And I had an emergency C-section with my second. I lost a lot of body fluids, felt weak, lethargic, and had to get my fluids replenished. Such a sad situation, praying for her and her family. Yeah, okay. So my apologies for not being able to attend the press conference yesterday. Some days when I tell you that I'm busy, you would not believe how busy I get. And yesterday I was actually having quite an important meeting that kind of ran over. And so I did not have an opportunity to attend the press conference. I was trying to listen kind of off and on whilst doing something else. But of course, that's not the best way to listen to a press conference. So I will go back and spend some time with the press conference. I am aware that they apparently updated the regs to include things like the crowd controls and so on. So, you know, we should be a little bit familiar with how these things work by now. The idea is to try to get the community transmission situation back under control. Folks, COVID is here and COVID is here to stay. The sooner we just accept that I hope that you will have an opportunity to go back to listen to the program last night. Michael Weiss was on the program. He's an epidemiologist in Florida. And he has said time and time again throughout last night's program, get vaccinated. There's a reason why even the local government keeps saying that to you. That gives you a good chance. Kevin, I hope, will provide he had some excellent slides last night. And hospital after hospital after hospital. The statistics demonstrate that the vast majority of the people, sometimes 96, 97% that are in the hospital, those individuals are unvaccinated. So if you need any more convincing, that is the evidence that you should be looking at. It is very, very clear that you have a fighting chance to just stay ahead of the serious illness and death complications that come as a result of COVID. So when we say that it's here to stay, some people are like, well, how am I? You're telling me I have to live with this? Well, what's the alternative? If it's not going anywhere, what is the alternative, really? Yes. You're gonna have to be living with COVID. So thanks, Kevin, for sending me. Let me just have a look at some of this stuff. It says I need access. Okay, I don't know if this is my email address. Okay, I've sent that. I hate Google Drive. Can I just tell you? I'm a Dropbox person. Google Drive annoys me. But yes, most definitely. The data is there. Thank you so much, Charlene. And I want to do a big shout out to Kevin. So next week, Tuesday, I'll double check the topic with him. But next week, Tuesday evening at 7 p.m., we will have a number of topics coming up. So Kevin has booked the topics and booked the guests for us. And let me just see if I can show you some of these things. I'll do a screen share here. Yeah, I mean, the evidence is just absolutely overwhelming. Look at this. 97% of COVID patients on life support are unvaccinated. This one is from the Atrium Health. So you can go to atriumhealth.org/COVID-19 vaccine. So 97%. Listen, I'd much rather be in that 3%. I got to tell you, that gives you more than a fighting chance, folks. That gives you almost a winning chance. Really and truly. Look at that. Unbelievable. Let's look at the next slide. September 8th. This is Baptist Health and Wolfson's Children's Hospital. This is across 5 hospital health systems. Again, 92% of our COVID-19 patients aged 12 plus are unvaccinated. So everybody's like, how do we protect the children? You know how you protect your children? You get vaccinated. The data is here, folks. The data is here. Here's another one. Intermountain Healthcare shows that September the 12th, 88% not fully vaccinated. Good morning. I'm on air. Okay. All hospital beds, 88% not fully vaccinated. 12% were fully vaccinated. But look at what happens even when you get more serious in the ICU. 92% not fully vaccinated, only 8% fully vaccinated. On a ventilator, 90% not fully vaccinated, and 10% fully vaccinated. September 15th, Lakeland Regional Health. 258 unvaccinated, 36 vaccinated of 294 patients that are hospitalized. So again, you know, when you do the math, it is clear that when you are vaccinated, you give yourself an excellent opportunity to, number one, be able to stay COVID free. And number two, even if you catch COVID, to stay out of the hospital, stay off a ventilator, and to stay off of the ICU. I was shocked at this one. No COVID, no ICU beds available. COVID-19 hospitalizations for Sarasota Memorial Hospital, September 15th. Look at that. The numbers are so painstakingly clear. Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. There you go. Of 78 people admitted, 68 are unvaccinated, 10 are vaccinated, 2 children. Of their critically ill, 41 patients are critically ill, 34 are unvaccinated, 7 are vaccinated, and 1 child that is critically ill. Carol says, new regs state that 6 feet apart, unless from the same household. And she wants to know, how are these clubs, she names a few there, and pretentious bars going to handle that? Well, they did it before, didn't they? Back earlier in the year. So they should always have a plan, a social distancing plan. They'll just leave. They can't be packed to capacity. So they will have to leave some space between tables and that sort of thing. I must admit that there's some restaurants in particular, for their indoor space, they don't really have a lot of indoor space. But again, during the regulations last year, they created outdoor space where there hadn't been any before. There was that level of flexibility. Or they, I remember Casa 43, for example, they set up like little tents outside and had like an eating area. So yeah, that's they'll figure it out. Believe me, they'll figure it out. Jonathan says, really and truly, it seems to me that the vaccinated people are more worried about COVID than the people that are unvaccinated. So what the hell are we waiting for? Open the borders and let's get this ball rolling. I don't think that they're more worried about COVID. I think that, they want to open the borders when we have the highest possible vaccination rate. Do unvaccinated people not understand the true risk? I think that could be a little bit of it. I think that they are delusional, and that's why, and I don't mean that in a rude way, but that's why a lot of them, when they're on death's bed, they're finally then realizing that, oh my God, I'm going to die. please give me the vaccine. Then it's too late. So telling you that as a matter of fact, because it has happened time and time again, is not that we're more concerned about COVID. I would hope that we're all as concerned about COVID. But yeah, I mean, I think that that's the reality of what it is that we're dealing with. Yeah. Let's watch a video. We're doing a video series of Caymanians overseas who are living with COVID. And they give us some insight and an idea of what that's actually like. Because one of the issues with us living in this bubble is that we honestly have been unable, some of us, to see what life with COVID could be like. And we have to get there. It's only a question of when. So this one, let me just see which one I've just pulled up for us here. We have a few. This is Jen Bodden. I don't know where Jen is at, but Kevin did this interview. So perhaps in the interview, it'll tell us where she's actually located.
So Jen Bodden Evans now joins us. And Jen, I start off with everyone saying who you are. Tell me about your Cayman connection.
My name is Jen Bodden Evans. My uncle is Roland Bodden and my dad's Chris Evans. So pretty much if you don't know one, you definitely know the other or both at the same time. So
that's for sure. Now, I know you and I actually met when I worked at Polk County Fire Rescue. So you work, in that environment where you're in and out of hospitals, taking patients every single day that you work. And you're exposed all the time. I know you said that you're fully vaccinated as well. So, living in a world with COVID all around you, what's that like?
When COVID first came over here, it was really surreal because nobody was really going out or doing anything. And at work, it wasn't as busy as it used to be, and it was a little scary, but when, they said that the vaccine was coming out and everything, I jumped on that so that I would be able to, go see my dad and that I'd be able to get out and go around. And, I still take precautions, when I go out. If I'm feeling sick, which I haven't, I would obviously stay home. Some people wear masks and that's great. Some people don't, and that's fine too. It's, up to you really. But I just take proper precautions. I don't go around anybody out here if they're sick or anything like that. So I'm around a lot of sick people at work. I don't want to be around sick people like out here.
You get enough workplace exposures. You don't want to be around, any others outside of that, because you're getting, that viral load, especially with the Delta variant all the time. And have you gotten COVID at all, or?
No, I haven't gotten COVID, thank God. I do know a few people that have gotten it, and it varies. Some are, okay, and they just have the sniffles, and some a little bit more sick, but, I'm lucky in that I haven't caught it yet. And I have had a lot of exposure. I've had patients that, I know that they have COVID, so I take all the proper precautions, where we have to like gown up and do everything. But then we have other patients where we don't know that they're COVID positive, so I've had like a full exposure, and because I got the vaccine, I think that's what's really helped me.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk about going to restaurants, going grocery shopping. What's that like for you?
It's like it was before COVID. I go to restaurants and I go to the grocery store. I mainly get Instacart just because my time is very valuable to me. But if I need to go to the store to get something specific, I don't have a problem hopping in my car and going down to the store. It doesn't really keep me inside my house anymore.
Now, Jen, you know, back home, they don't have Instacart, but yes, Instacart is pretty much groceries get delivered for those who are watching. We have a little app that we have that we could order, just like, you know, everyone heard of Uber. You just order your food and they bring the food to your door for you. That simple. I don't think there's any service like that in Cayman. There may be, but I really don't know about it, but it's certainly not called Instacart. So yeah. But but Jen, really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about this. But one of the questions I have, you know, you do have a lot of people that are not yet vaccinated. Cayman, we've got a great turnout so far. More than 70% there is fully vaccinated. Way better than here in Florida. But it's still not where it really needs to be. What would be your recommendation, especially working in the medical field, for those individuals?
I'd recommend getting the vaccine. I've seen personally a lot of trends where people that aren't vaccinated are sicker than the ones that do get vaccinated. So I'd recommend definitely getting the vaccine for sure.
Have you ever dealt with a patient that got vaccinated and then you had to take them to the hospital because of the vaccine?
No.
Yeah. And then what about the people that are afraid of the borders reopening? Because, you know, Cayman's been in that nice bubble where, you know, COVID really wasn't transmitting there. Just recently, we just had a few cases of community spread, but it's not, you know, at any amount like it is in the majority of the world. For those people that are really afraid, oh my goodness, we're going to be opening up and I'm just afraid. What would you say to them?
I say, don't live your life in fear. You know, you can't sit around thinking, what if, and watch your life slip away. You got to get out there and you got to have to experience life. There's a lot of scary things out there, a lot scarier than COVID. So I say, go out there.
We really appreciate you spending the time with me, Jen, and hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
All right, folks. Thank you so much, Kevin and Jen. That was a great interview. Again, just bringing the point home that there are people around the world who are actually living somewhat normal lives with COVID, and we will get there as well. It's only, what is this on my chest? It's only a matter of time. Folks, Ruth, thank you so much for joining us. So what else is going on in the community, folks? And people are messaging me about the situation with the Cuban nationals, saying that if they want asylum or, you know, if they want to be able to leave. So someone says, Sandy, morning, dear, just listening to yesterday's show about the Cubans. There's so many of them wishing that they could get on a repatriation flight, because as hard as it is in Cuba, they have family that can help them. I guess in Cuba. Here, a lot of them are really struggling, even to feed their kids. Less the school expenses that have just come up. It is an easy, hun, and I don't know who paid, but spend a couple of weeks in the poorer parts of Cuba. I don't know who paid. Okay, that's where you really see how the people suffer. You have them that are just greedy once they learn what life's like outside of Cuba, but we really have no idea what they go through as a people of Cuba. The more fortunate always have contacts overseas, usually in the US, but some come here that are genuine and some just to help their families back home. Another question, so what's to happen when those that have had the jab more than 6 months now? Okay, so again, folks, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, we talked about the fact that the FDA has made a limited recommendation for individuals who should be getting the booster shot. So it's not everyone at this point, it's people over 65, and it's then anyone with a serious compromising health related situation. So, you know, you will want to check with your physician to see if you fall into any of those categories and make sure that you get vaccinated accordingly. So Ms. Sue agrees with that interview there with Jen, saying that yes, we are going to have to open up. Big shout out to the National Trust. They have a new board, and they actually had their AGM on the 22nd, which was held at the Georgetown Yacht Club, with formalities, they said, commencing at 6:30 p.m. And people were able to attend in person or to also attend via Zoom if they wanted to meet. So they have, the AGM was called to order by Mark Goodman, and they now have Chair Olson Anderson, and it says that NTCI chairman was unable to attend in person. They had the treasurer give his report and so on. So here are the board members, folks, for the National Trust. So congratulations to all of those individuals. Is that Olivia all the way down there at the bottom? So yes, we have Olson Anderson as chairman, Gregory McTaggart as vice chair, Zoe Foster, as secretary, Dan Peterson as treasurer, Patricia Bradley, general elected member, Fred Burton, member, Melanie Carmichael, shout out to our friend there, Melanie, general elected member, Lauren Dombowski, also member, Lisa Hurlston McKenzie, member as well, Ian Kirkman, member, Ellen Lazari, member Olivia Scott Ramirez, also a member, and Robert Walker, a member. So congratulations to all of those individuals. That is their newly elected National Trust Cayman Islands Council for 2021/22. So good luck to all of them. The National Trust does play a very important role in protecting a lot of things here in the Cayman Islands. Let's see. Kevin says the FDA is a regulatory agency, whereas the ACIP is an advisory body to the CDC. ACIP is Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, and the FDA does not, however, regulate the practice of medicine. ACIP has not finalized its recommendations and is expected any day now. As of right now, vaccine providers need to wait for ACIP to release its recommendations. Okay. Andrea, good morning. She says, is it true that employers who are returning to Cayman want their helpers to quarantine with them for the 2 weeks? If not, they won't be paid. Andrea, we discussed this was it last week maybe? Or early this week? It might have been last week. We actually talked about this. I think it might have been last week, Friday, in fact. I don't know that there's anything regulating this like in law, but I would think that just general principles of law that an employee, especially someone who isn't a live-in, but even if you're a live-in, that they would have an option of not being forced into quarantine, especially if they didn't travel with the family. Because I mean, obviously, if they travel, they have to quarantine. But if they've not traveled with the family, I don't know if that's a condition of employment, but I would think that they would have the right to say no, thank you. Now, I guess some people are going to have to test the waters. And it seems to me that some people might be unduly pressured into quarantining with their employer. And we had read, because someone has sent us a statement about this, where one person allegedly became ill with COVID because they were forced to quarantine and be in close quarters with a returning family. I don't think any returning family should expect that from a helper or nanny or anyone working in that field. But I think it has to be very clear, and maybe this is where helpers and nannies need to speak up from now and essentially say, listen, if you're going to be taking a holiday and traveling or doing whatever you're doing, when you return, I will not be able to make myself available, because that's a risk that person is having to take. What if your helper is forced to quarantine with you, and then they're the ones who ends up dying from COVID? I think that could create some serious issues there and potential litigation. So, but I think people need to be very, very clear. If you're a domestic, just tell your boss, listen, if you travel and you have to quarantine, especially, I mean, the point is really if the person doesn't even live in your house. Now, if they live in your house, that is something that you should be disclosing to travel time, and they will take that into consideration when they decide to approve your quarantine location. Because remember, you can't return and quarantine unless you have a place that Travel Command can actually authorize. And it can't be a facility that has other people living directly or sharing like bathrooms and kitchen and whatever with you, right? It has to be a situation where you can quarantine properly without coming in contact with other people and potentially putting them at risk. But there's going to be a lot of testing of the waters in times like this as it relates to COVID. Carol says probably, God forbid, people clean their own houses or look after their own children and cook their own food, especially for, depending how long if they're vaccinated or not. But what, maximum of 2 weeks? It's like, come on. But yeah, some people just are not used to that lifestyle, Carol. I can't imagine having to mind their children at all. There might be legitimate reasons why, maybe someone has a helper, maybe they have health issues or whatever, why they have a live-in. But those are the types of things that if you're going to be traveling and coming back, especially whilst the borders remain closed, you need to have a frank and open discussion ahead of time to see what your employee wants to do and what your employer, if you're on the other end, wants to do as well. So what about this discussion? How do you guys feel about this situation where employers are telling their staff that if you are vaccinated, you will get certain privileges that the unvaccinated will not get? Of course, the unvaccinated do not like that. Let me read to you some of the comments that I have received, and I'm aware of a number of companies actually doing this. So let me just see here 1 second, folks. Okay, give me 1 second here, folks. Yeah. All right, so someone sent me this message. Let me just see here. So some companies, this is what they said, allowing the vaccinated to walk around and not social distance and no mask, but the unvaccinated must not come closer than 6 feet and wear a mask for the entire day at work. Talk about discrimination. So it says whether you're in favor or not, who can support that? I know it's a way to force people, but it's wrong. Not even to government is doing that. So what do we think about this, folks? Should there be a different standard for vaccinated versus unvaccinated individuals? Well, I think the truth of the matter is, we've kind of discussed this before, that it's only a matter of time before this is going to be kind of the norm in any event, right? Where you will have, if you want to go into the US now, well, if you're unvaccinated, you're not going to be able to get in. So I think that there's going to be some serious restrictions put in place. Is it a situation where, we now think that there should be no restrictions? I mean, I don't know. I'm expecting restrictions, and I think that it would be unrealistic for people not to expect. Is that discrimination? I don't think it is. It's just like a lot of other things. There's some countries around the world that you can't get into those countries if you do not get whatever. It might not be COVID before, this is pre-COVID. If you didn't get vaccinated, you're not going to be able to travel to those countries anyway. So there's always criteria in place, right? So Scott, good morning to you. Jonathan says, why are we waiting? Let's normalize COVID. Jonathan, we don't have a choice. COVID is normalizing itself. We will get there. And I think Caymanians need to, it's a brain acceptance situation. Like it's accepting the reality. And unfortunately, a lot of Caymanians are not accepting the reality, but we will have no choice, Jonathan. Big shout out to Total Health. They are a new facility that is located in, oh gosh, I always forget the name of that plaza. Anyway, let's watch a commercial from Total Health. Grand Pavilion, there we go. Big shout out to everyone there at Total Health. We've checked out their facility recently, and we're going to be doing a tour. Very, very impressive what they've got set up there. There's more to come. So, folks, we'll be finding out more in detail about all of the services that they offer. So, Jonathan is a voice for opening up the borders. He's saying, "Let us just get it done already." Yes, indeed. All right, Miss Sue says, yes, there are bars, restaurants, football games, and some places are asking for vaccine passports. Oh, of course. This is going to be the norm all over the world. Let me just tell you what is happening in terms of of who can access. But there are a number of, there's definitely, a number of facilities that will restrict everything that you do. So European Union states have restricted access. So to venues for unvaccinated people. So here we go, an increasing number, this is according to theguardian.com, an increasing number of European governments are planning to prevent unvaccinated people from being able to attend hospitality venues, such as bars and restaurants this summer. Everything from, France on Monday passed the threshold of 40 million people having received at least one vaccine. That's close to 60%. Their president tweeted, "Together we will defeat the virus. We continue." So again, a range of policies are being tried across Europe as governments seek to push reluctant people into receiving jabs. In Sweden, a study being carried out by the University of Lund will examine whether the offer of a redeemable voucher worth £17 can convince people to take the plunge. And In the Netherlands, batches of, what is this? Hollandaise something, or New Season Dutch herring fish are being distributed to vaccination centers as an incentive. Oh, are people that into herring, like eating it, that would be an incentive? Lord, who would have thought? So government intervention has proven somewhat helpful in France, where record numbers have been administered in the last 2 weeks. So this is a little bit earlier in the summer. Yes. After their president said that it was his intention to legislate it to limit access to hospitality venues to benefit those who are fully vaccinated and in possession of a negative PCR test. So, they've had an uptick in their numbers since then as well. Ireland allowed hospitality venues to open their doors to customers holding the EU's digital certificate that proves their vaccine status or a record from the country's health service executive. Let me see here. So 4 million jabs administered in France within the health ministry, reporting that some 33.2 million people, close to 50% of the population, fully vaccinated at that time. The new pass will be required to attend restaurants, bars, museums, cinemas, large public gatherings from August, but not shopping malls yet, after the government was pressured into dropping that aspect of the legislation. So all over the world, that's what's happening. So some areas in Spain, in order to get access to hotels and restaurants, indoor access. Belgium, access to outdoor events, more than 1,500 people must be limited from August the 13th to those carrying a vaccine certificate. Germany, politicians are in the thick of a debate over how and whether pressure to get jabbed should be increased in people who've not yet been vaccinated. Just under half of Germany is fully vaccinated, 49.4%, and 61% have had one dose. But listen to this. Reports of many having missed appointments for second jab in order to go on holiday, leading experts to warn that herd immunity is nowhere near being reached. What a hot mess. Germans want to go on vacation. What a thing. You ever feel like the world has kind of gone a little bit crazy? In Bavaria, they're suggesting that they're going to start making people pay for tests to prove their COVID status, which are currently free. What a mess. I've heard that as a possibility, and people are kicking up about that, saying that they shouldn't have to pay for it either. In the United States of America, of course, a lot is going on there as well. Italy, requiring proof of vaccination or negative test for social activities. Yes. So I think a lot of countries are, and a lot of businesses even, are moving in that direction. So on the one hand, I suppose that if you believe that it's a choice, then you should have to live with the consequences of that choice, right? Canada, dining out, salons, gyms, and more, COVID restrictions by province and territory. So they have a whole thing here where, they're in a fourth wave of COVID-19 taking hold in Canada. So their provinces and territories are implementing measures to prevent major outbreak. Some are rolling back and reopening. And again, indoor dining restrictions and so on. Saskatchewan, indoor diners will require negative tests or proof of vaccination to be seated starting October the 1st. For those who are unvaccinated and don't want to provide a negative test results, they're able to do takeout or delivery, Manitoba, for those hoping to dine indoors, they will require proof of vaccination for age 12 and up. For unvaccinated people who want to have a night out without cooking, they can enter establishments to pick up their takeout. So you can pick it up and take it back home. Quebec, restaurant dining requires proof of vaccination. Table sizes are not to exceed 10 people, and bars and pubs must operate at a capacity of 50% of what their liquor license allows. For those dining indoors, restaurants must ensure that tables maintain physical distancing where there's no physical partitions. For unvaccinated adults in Quebec, they can opt for takeout or drive-through options. So again, you're not going to go sit in a restaurant. Prince Edward Island, same thing, capacity limits and social distancing. Newfoundland and Labrador. So it's a whole list of places in Canada as well. And New York, this headline says, no shot, no proof, no service. New York businesses begin checks. So people dining indoors at New York City's restaurants, browsing its museums, or sweating in its gyms have to show proof Tuesday, and this was last month actually, that they were at least partially inoculated against COVID-19 as the city begins the nation's largest effort yet to exclude the unvaccinated from public places. Signs on the front doors of the windows of the Shop Inn and Queen's Diner warned patrons arriving for breakfast that they had to show proof of at least one vaccine shot to be allowed to dine inside. So here's a 17-year-old saying that he was surprised when a server politely asked for his vaccination card soon after he slid into a booth with his parents and sister. They said, "We didn't know we had to bring it." The server appeared relieved when they presented copies of their vaccination cards on their phones. Well, yes, you should have an electronic copy of it. That's not a bad idea. Speaking of which, now here in Cayman, you can get your QR code from the HSA once you get registered. We're trying to arrange for them to come on the program maybe next week. Still making some calls and so on to see how we can get that done. And they're going to show you, if you've been vaccinated, the process. So we're going to show you here on the Cold Hard Truth how you do that. So I've not yet registered for the HSA portal. So I will register to go through the relevant steps to show all of you how easy or not it is. We're going to find out. So Miss Darlene says, Sandy, I really don't know. I have more trust in the professionals who have studied and practiced in the medical sciences than going for a meal in restaurants, just saying. So those rules will be here soon too, says Miss Sue. Jackie says, better safe than sorry. I was a bit skeptical about the vaccine, but at the end of the day, my immediate family and I decided that being vaccinated is the better option. Jonathan says, and if I need to practice physical distancing, I'll light up some ganja because some people seem to be just as afraid of that as COVID. And Miss Sue wants to know how to do it on your phones. Yes, because a lot of people don't have computers. So we're working out the finer details with the HSA to have them come on so that we can get that sorted out. Hopefully one day next week, I'll confirm it as soon as we have the dates finalized. But yes, I think it's important for people to see exactly, how it's done. Hopefully it's easy and mobile. I hope that they've thought about that for sure. Okay, let me just see what else. So I'm going to be heading out this morning to meet with an MP to do some work, actually. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much for sending all sorts of tips and information. Darlene says that Jonathan makes her laugh. He makes us all laugh, child. Trust me. Thank you, Miss Anne. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? I'm just trying to see what else we've got lined up for you this morning in terms of what is happening around the world. Oops, sorry. So here's an interesting thing about COVID, and this is a bit of good news for us. Our seniors, so those who are 60 plus, have the highest rate. I think Jonathan alluded to this earlier when he said, listen, they got the most protection. They're the most vulnerable. But you notice how the argument shifts from the seniors are the most vulnerable to now the children are the most vulnerable. So people in Cayman who are 60 plus, 97% of them are actually vaccinated. So they're doing pretty good. They're not taking any chances. The 50 to 59-year-olds, 96% of those are vaccinated. And the 40 to 49-year-olds, 93% of those. The breakdown by age group for the first dosage. Distribution is 50% female across the entire group, which makes sense, I think. But yes, we got some numbers here based on age. So check those out. So 97% of persons over 60 have already taken at least one dose. So we got to get them to that second dose for sure. So yes, we have comedic relief right here on the program, courtesy of Jonathan. You don't have to go any further than that. So still no update on the 4 missing Cuban migrants. I guess they haven't been found yet. I don't know. It's crazy, but that's what it is. Right? Very crazy. All right. Just having a look at a few other things. Folks, don't forget that we have a community calendar where you can, get any of your nonprofit events posted on the calendar. And it's right on our website on the right-hand side of the main page. And you can always see what's going on in the community. So make sure that you have a look at that. Let me just see. All right, beautiful. So we have another about 20 minutes or so remaining in the program. So what do you guys want to talk about? I'm kind of like talked out this morning. We can look at some of the headlines trending around the world if you guys wish. I had a LOL moment yesterday when people are talking about the whole situation with with Nicki Minaj. So have you guys been, I think we briefly mentioned this on the program, but I can't remember, where Nicki Minaj, oh, Darlene says, Sandy, why don't you have a sponsor and donate page in the CMR? Aw, that is so sweet of you to think of that. You know, I'm one of those Caymanians who don't like to beg. What can I say? But I suppose it's not a bad idea. I don't think that I'm in particular need of anything. You know, we make things work. Mind you, people have said, set one up for your legal fund to fight this Felder case. And what is so interesting about that, I'll tell you a story, is I recently received a phone call a couple days ago from someone in the business community who said, Sandy, I want to make a donation to you for this case because, you know, we support you. We appreciate the important role that Cayman Road plays in the community. And I was like, wow, really? Like, I was surprised to just get a unsolicited phone call and donation. So, yeah. Okay, let me just have a look. I think that the regs have dropped here. Let me just have a look at this. And I think we need to have a quick look at this. This might be something very important. Okay, here we go. So let's have a look at the regs. Yeah, they went up yesterday. So we have gazettes. The 3 sets of regulations under the public health currently in effect can be viewed at the following. All right, let's have a look. So we have the prevention, control, and suppression of COVID-19, travel, and boating. All right, so let's have a quick perusal at what we're looking at here, good people. Let me share this with you all. Okay, let's dig in. Teenage girls. Oh, thank you, Miss Sue, for reminding me of this. One young lady was found as of yesterday. Again, oddly enough, I don't think the police or anybody updated that information, but my sources said the 13-year-old was located and the 14-year-old young lady was still missing. So Jonathan has a theory about the Cubans. He said maybe they went swimming to Mexico to cross the border into the U.S. because that wet foot, dry foot law doesn't exist anymore. Ms. Darlene says you do us a great deal by what CMR does. I know that there are lots that would put into the service. Well, thank you. Maybe I'll look at it. I'll have a look. I'll ask my IT guy if there's an easy way to do like donations or something. I'm not really sure. Yes, but we are definitely going to be fighting that lawsuit on more than one front. All right, folks, let us have a looky here. Increase this so y'all can see it. Prevention, control, and suppression. Somebody told me a little joke recently about how the regulations came out and it said prevention, control, and like elimination or something like that. And we know there will be no eliminating COVID. So it was some recommendations that some people were making to government, and they still had that like in the title of their document. And it's like, people, wake up and smell the tea or the coffee, whatever it is you're drinking, because there's no such thing as eliminating COVID. We're going to have to live with it. So, of course, most of you are interested in number 3, travel from Grand Cayman to the sister islands. So here we go. This is why I got to get my thing registered, because I got to go to the BRAC soon. So we have here section 34 of the public health law. Again, this is the powers conferred by them. They make the following. They have all the definitions and stuff here. Travel. Subject to this regulation, any person may travel from Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac by air, transport, or boat. A person above the age of 5 who wishes to travel above the age of 5. Okay. May travel without being tested for the virus when the person is at least 14 days prior to their date of travel, has completed an approved vaccine course. So a 5-year-old, in the case of a voyage by air prior to departure of the flight, provide the relevant airline or an agent of the airline with a vaccination certificate. In the case of voyage by boat prior to departure, provide customs, blah, 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 vaccination certificate. Is not showing any respiratory symptoms or symptoms of the virus. A person above the age of 5 who at least 14 days prior to their travel departure is not completing an approved vaccine course. All right, so if you're not vaccinated, if you go by air, by boat, doesn't matter, a medical certificate which shows that the person had a negative PCR test of a sample from the upper airwaves no more than 48 hours prior to the departure of the voyage. When a person referred to under paragraph 2 and 3 arrives in Cayman Brac or Little Cayman, and they're showing any respiratory symptoms or symptoms of the virus, the person shall be managed at a place and in such a manner as specified by the medical officer of health. Okay. You might have to stay in a facility of quarantine. Isolation, yes. So you need a negative test if you're not vaccinated. And it says no more than 48 hours prior to travel. So it can be less than that, but no more than. A person who's a parent, guardian, or caregiver who provides evidence that the person traveled from Grand Cayman to the sister islands for the purpose of taking the person's child or child, an educational institution, represent the islands in a sporting event, medical services. So hold on a second here now. Oh, this is where they don't have to pay for the subsection 6, where you don't have to pay for the quarantining. So that's essential travel. So child, anyone under the age of 18 and 24 years, there's instructions. Okay. Then they talk about the conditions for the use of boats in the water. So if you're a boater, this is where you want to make sure that you're reading this section of the regulations. All right, so these are good until November the 17th, and I'm sure that they'll update us at that time. So if I want to go, I'm just trying to understand this now with a 5-year-old, right? A person above the age of 5 years old. So my 5-year-old would have to get a PCR test. You know, it's so funny because just last night my husband said to me, oh, we could go to the BRAC for a couple of days. When I show him this, the BRAC might become East End because she had to do a PCR test the other day and she did not like that. No, sir. So I don't know. I don't know if we're going to be doing that again anytime soon. No, honey child. And of course, she's 5, so she can't get vaccinated. I'll be going to the BRAC by myself. I only need to go for the day anyway. Miss Loretta, hello, good morning, happy Friday. Dawn says, ha, 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 East End is the BRAC. Yeah, I'm going to have to substitute that little staycation. I wonder if we can fool her into thinking the East End is the BRAC. We're like, yeah, we're in the BRAC. Maybe not. She's a little bit smarter than that. She'll be like, this doesn't look like the BRAC, and we didn't get on a plane to get here. She's going to figure it out really quickly. All right, so that's one regulation. Let me tell you what else we got. Oh, shoot. I did not mean to close that window just now. Darn it. Hold on a second. All right, so that's one. There's 3 sets. This one is the control of COVID number 3. All right, so this one is 15 pages. Let's have a look. What we got here for this regulation. By the way, let me just double check what time I'm supposed to be at my appointment this morning. I got to go to West Bay to do some recordings and stuff. So of course I would like to be on time. And let me just have a look-see. Okay, so I'm supposed to be there at, let me see here now. Oh, yeah, I got to get going here shortly. All right, so let's just have a quick look at this one. I'm going to get his same armor. Good, Don. Oh, yes, and I'm going to pack some more in the car to drop off a bit later on. We need all the people we can get in East End, says Audrey. Come on down. Yes, I need to. I've never been to your restaurant. I do need to come. So look at this now. This one is the, would be nice if I actually was sharing it with you. There we go. Approved vaccine course. So we know about that already. Vaccination certificate. So they have to define all these things, child, because people would be like, no, I have a certificate and this is what it is. Restrictions on arrival of vaccinated persons to the island. So section 4, this is important. The following persons who are at least 14 days prior to the proposed date of travel. A person who is a Caymanian or resident of the island. Restriction on arrival of vaccinated. Okay. A person who's a child of a Caymanian or resident who's traveling with the Caymanian or resident, a tourist, visitor, or other, subject to paragraph 8, and let's just see what paragraph 8 says, and notwithstanding any other law, a person referred to under paragraph 1 who wishes to enter the island shall provide a sample from the upper airways, so again, PCR test, no more than 72 hours prior to arrival. Upon arrival to the islands, provide a Customs and Border Control officer with a vaccination certificate and a medical certificate, which shows that the person has a negative PCR test of a sample from the upper airways. Okay. Upon arrival, provide a Customs. Okay. Specify the name and address of the approved laboratory. Comply with the directions of. Provide a medical questionnaire. So hold on a second now. So if you have your vaccination certificate, you get 7 days. 10 days where the vaccination certificate cannot securely be verified at a private residence or other place of quarantine. Be subject to such directions as are provided by the medical officer, permanent person. Okay. So I'm a little bit confused by what someone just sent me. Restrictions on arrival. Okay. Don wants to know if there's anywhere out east that he can plug in an electric car. I don't know. Keisha, WhatsApp me, please. Like I said, I'm going to drop some off. I might have to run to West Bay first, but I'm going to drop some off today in town where you can go and pick them up. Get vaccinated now in the BRAC. I want to go there. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously, the BRAC is going to be a little bit more challenging to get to. All right, good folks. Let me end the program here and wish you all a safe and wonderful weekend. And, be safe on the roadways, good people. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Dawn, she may still have some. I thought you had went already. Tracy says that Lorna's gas station in Boddentown, that's Ozzy's place there, has an electric car charging station. So at least you can get as far as Boddentown, charge up, and keep going. So yes, thank you all so much, folks. Big shout out to all the YouTubers, 57 people on YouTube tuning in. We've got 147 on Facebook. I appreciate your support. And again, yes, please be safe this weekend. Big shout out to all of our Instagram followers. We have surpassed 20,000 followers on Instagram, over 40,000 on Facebook. But the Instagram is like a real milestone because that's hard to get, I feel like, on Instagram. So again, thank you all so, so much. Be safe, folks, and we'll see you on Monday.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.